know what it is, man. It's that life in the pen. It's that life in the pen, hashtag prison talk, hashtag in and out. 7-1 half a dozen, that's 7-1 with the devil on the end. And right here, we got my man, Connor Allen Lindbloom, man. Come on, man. This man is killing him. Came home 30 months ago, and he really is. After I started reading everything about him, I'm inspired. He got me. I woke up this morning, and when I read that, I was like, damn, now, you know, with this stimulus going on, I was thinking about going to bust somebody upside their head because I ain't getting no paycheck coming. And the brother right here hollered at me, and I'm like, you know what? Nah, just be patient and make it work. So, you know what I'm saying? He came from a shady past, and now he got the sun shining on him, brighten him up. I think he dark light-skinned right now. If y'all don't see that, he's dark light-skinned. That's how much sun is shining on the man. So, you know, bro, go ahead, man. Introduce yourself, man, everything you got going on, and let's bring up the past, man, to the future.
Thanks, man. That's a hell of an introduction. So this, you know, to try to share my story, it's kind of complex. I'll just share as we go a little bit. But in a nutshell, Gunnar Allen Lim was my name. I grew up in Detroit. I was kind of born into this Detroit Mafia family. And a lot of people, some people out there don't even know there's a Detroit Mafia family, but it is. If you Google, it's a very powerful, very influential family that's very secretive. It's not like New York and even Chicago. It's super secretive. But a couple of Google searches to Detroit Mafia, and you'll find thousands and things about it. And so the boss of the family was for 40 years, 39 years, was my uncle. And so I was born into this environment, and I was a bad kid to begin with. I got in all kinds of trouble when I was a juvenile, and I think that they were the uncles and cousins and stuff. They were watching me, and they're like, you know, someday this guy's gonna be one of us, because I was a bad kid, constantly fighting, constantly trouble. So in my teen years, I had a just really tumultuous childhood. My parents divorced, and just I was a mess. And next thing you know, I'm selling drugs and in the drug game and hustling. And around my teens, I start getting introduced to these high-level mafia bosses. This is where my story gets actually really interesting, because my story is so unlike anybody else's. You ever watch Goodfellas, and you talk about Henry Hill, how he was able to move in and out of the high-level mob bosses, because he was half Sicilian and he was in with these guys. So I'm like have the same scenario, but the real honest truth is that I had the mob bosses that I was around were much higher level than the ones he was around. I was around the very top of the top. He was around guys that are capos, which were powerful dudes, but they answered to the dude who answered to a dude who answered to a dude. So it just so happened that my grandfather is the cousin of the boss, and kind of was like an unofficial consigliere mob boss. We all lived in the same neighborhood in Grosse Pointe, Michigan, which is super wealthy, rich enclave where big ballers live. It was all Italians, and I grew up in that environment. So they watched me grow up as a kid, and they loved my mother. And I didn't know they were mob bosses. I didn't know none of that. I had no idea. They acted a certain way that I thought was just normal. But, in hindsight, as I get in my teens and 20s and stuff and look back, I'm like, that ain't normal. It's mobster behavior. But I didn't know. They used to hand me money. They'd see me. And every time they see me, I'm Uncle Nicky. Every time he see me, he would give me money. When I was just a little kid, maybe 4 or 5, he'd give me $5, which is a lot in the 70s. And then he I'm 47. And then he, I got older, he'd give me a little more. And I got older, he'd give me a little back. I said, no, give me $100 when he sees me. He loved me. And then eventually he started using me. And a point came where his nephew was getting picked on in the neighborhood, and they knew I was a fighter and a brawler. I was already expelled from school. I mean, I was on the streets full time at this point. And he's like, that my cousin, I didn't know there's always hitching in here. I'm not Dusty. I'm in my Jeep. So he calls me up and says, now my aunt calls me and says, they're picking on Anthony. Come over. Now I lived in a city that was like another city over. I'm on my crotch rocket, my Ninja. I fly full speed, I'm like 100 miles an hour.
Got to get there.
Yeah, in my mind, I'm thinking, these bitches are picking on my cousin, So I pull up, whip up in the house, like what I see Tony sitting there. He's got an ice pack over his nose, and I look at my Uncle Nicky, and now his brother was a very powerful mob boss, and he just looks at me, and I looked at him, and he kind of nods. He gives me the look like, go handle. I said, where are they at? She says, right down the street in the corner house. They were playing basketball, blah, blah. So I end up going down there. There's some kids in the backyard playing basketball, and I stormed. I just came from the gym, so I was a big kid. I was doing like bodybuilding shows with my team, so I got a wife beater on. I storm up in this backyard. I'm like, which one of you bitches put your hands on my cousin? Which one? And I'll never forget. The one dude was like, hey, what's up, Al, man? Anthony's your cousin? I was like, yeah, he's my cousin. But when he said my name, I knew I had him, because if they knew my name, they knew how I was cut. So I knew, these pussy ass, they were like pussy ass kids. They weren't cut like that. And when they said my name, I'm like, okay, they know who I am. So they know what I'm about. So I said, you know who I am? He said, yeah. You're Gino's boy, right? And I was like, yeah. I said, if you know who I am, you should know better than put your hands on my cousin. And he said, no, it wasn't even like that, man. We all grew up here together. We were playing basketball. It got heated, got in pushing match, whatever. And then, a couple, they started fighting. We broke it up, man. It ain't even like that, bro. We don't want no smoke, blah, blah, blah. I said, listen, next time one of you put your hands on my cousin, I'm come back here and smash every one of you bitches. And I was saying it to the biggest one of them, like right in his face. I'm going to smash every one of you bitches. Like, nah, we don't even want no problem. So anyway, after that, my uncle, kind of was like, he's cut like that. So another day, not long after that, he asked me to freaking smash this dude who was his girlfriend on the side, like a 60-year-old dude, had a girlfriend who was like 30, and his girlfriend, and that girl's ex came there drunk one night and like smacked around her and the kids. So she calls him and tells him, now this is a very dangerous, powerful mob boss. So he calls me at like 7 o'clock in the morning, and he says, listen, Alonzo, because that's what they call me, Alonzo, I need you to handle this dude. He tells him the situation. He's like, handle it. I'm like, good. Where I'm going with this is how this was the gateway that opened it up into my life.
No. We see where you're going. You gotta introduce. You gotta tell about the beginning of life before you get to where it was hectic.
Right.
Crazy.
Right. So this is what happened. I end up going. I called my training partner Dario. He's an Italian kid, big muscle bound dude. He was like 29. I was 19. And I said, come on, we gotta handle something. He's like, do I need to grab my heater? I'm like, no, man. I'm gonna grab a pool stick or something. You're good. So we shoot. I get the address. I go over there. Dust in here. And I knock on the door kind of quietly, and she answers the door. I'm like, where's he at? She's like, he's in the back bedroom, passed out. So I go in there, and I just tell Dario, I got this. So I grab the dude by his freaking head. First I go, boom, 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 smack the wall above his head, like the head bar. Bam. I'm like, wake up, mother. And I grab him by his hair. I'm like, here. I yank him out of the freaking bed. And he starts like grabbing he's trying to fight. So he's actually trying to put up a little fight with me. And like tries to throw a punch. So I grab him by the throat and just smash him up against the wall. And it's like, wham, bust him. I had this big nugget ring, stupid 1980s nugget ring. I was wham, and smash him. It just drops him. He goes straight down, blood splattered. And then Dario cracked him with a pool stick. But he was pretty much done. I drag him out of the house, and by his ankle, he's trying to fight and get up all this way. Drag him out, blood trail out, down this little stairs to the back, throw him out. And the whole time he's yelling, who the F are you? Who the F are you? And I'm going, bitch, I'm the one who comes and you put your hands on a woman. I'm that guy. And so he gets in his van. I'm like, you got to leave. You come back next time, it's going to be a lot worse. You put your hands on the kids. You put your hand on this woman. And, so we come back. So he gets in his Jeep. He gets in his van. And he's like, the door's open. And all of a sudden, he starts like reaching under his seat because I was waiting for that. And I grabbed his arm. What are you doing, bro? I yank it out, and he's got a crowbar. So I yanked it out of his hand. I said, man, I'll smash your head in with this thing, man. You out of your mind? And he goes, look at my face. Look at my face. Look at my face. That nugget ring took a hunk out of his nose. And it was funny because I let the hunk just dry in there because it was in a nugget. I'd show it to my boys. It was there for months. They all laughed. But anyways, he's like, look what you did to my face. And I'm like, bro, next time you put your hands on this woman, you're going to need a surgeon to put your face together. You got that? Now get the fuck out of here. And he took off. Well, after that, my Uncle Nicky and Uncle Tony, they were basically like this said, gunner. They started calling me Patu La Pala, which means crazy gun. It sounds crazy. And they started using me for certain things, mostly security, gave me jobs bouncing at their nightclubs. I started working security at like high level poker games and just doing collections for bookies and people who were slow to pay on their debts, things like that. So that's how I ended up becoming. But that was like kind of the early stages. What happened after that was my grandfather, who, like I said, he wasn't like a super high rank mob boss, but he was like the older, wiser consigliere for all these freaking mob bosses. And they lived by our house, and I never really knew his rank, and I still don't. I know he wasn't officially consigliere. I talked to Scott Bernstein, who wrote the book about my family called Motor City Mafia. He's the world's foremost expert on the Detroit mob, and it's so compartmentalized, you won't know who's what. And he's like, you know, your grandpa was, the Fed said that Peter Paul Tocco was heavily involved in the family. And what capacity, they don't know. So my grandpa, but they were at our house like almost every day. Like, you know, Jack Tocco, Tony Giacalone, Paul Corrado. These are big, like famous dudes. Tony Giacalone was the last one to be seen with Jimmy Hoffa. So if you watch the movie The Irishman, the actor Patrick Gallo was played him in The Irishman. And so there's very, Jack Tocco is arguably, which is my great uncle. I was never really tight with him. He just kind of saw me as this live wire kid, you know, part of the family. And he didn't like that because he was a very low profile, low key kind of dude, you know, but he is arguably, if you do your homework, perhaps the most successful mafia boss in the history of the whole United States, because he only did 2 years in prison, was the boss for 39 years. And the FBI estimated his net worth when he died at 100 million, owned over 100 businesses, 100 million. And I'd say that's probably low. He had businesses with Paul Corrado from the Gambino family. He had businesses with all over New York, Buffalo, and so this guy was super low key, low profile. And when in terms of me, to have an interaction with him as far as like mob stuff, very little. A couple of times he had me collect some money. One time it was 1.7 million bucks, which was crazy. It was after the Super Bowl. I had to collect money.
Wait, how much?
1.7 million. Yeah.
God damn, he had you come collect that, huh?
Well, I had to collect it from these Arabs. In Detroit, you have Chaldeans, which are Christian Arabs, and they all like work for the family in some capacity, and I used to extort them. But after the Super Bowl, for whatever reason, he needed that money right away, and he told Tony Giacalone, who was like the boss of all the street games, you know, all the gambling, and Tony said, "Listen, put Gunner on it. He'll get it done quick," and I did. You know, a matter of 3 days, I collected 1.7 million. Had to count it twice more than twice because the counter broke, so we counted by hand. This is get crazy too. They teamed me up with my cousin Frankie. All right, his name is Frankie LaFana. Now he's in life doing life in prison right now for multiple murders, like 4 murders. He's a homicidal maniac, you know. And I saw him kill people right in front of me. So we robbed a couple dope dealers, zip tied him, and then he shot him. I'm like, yo, why'd you shoot him? We got masked on it because there's witnesses. I said, bro, you're freaking homicidal maniac, bro. So I mean, something wrong with you. Why would you do that? So I was kind of scared of the dude. So then they teamed me up with him. This is a funny story, to collect this money and count it. It's in a safe house. And for whatever reasons, it was an apartment and the heat was broke. So it was like 90 freaking degrees in this house. And I'm dying there sweating. Now we got a freaking shotgun against the wall. We both got pistols. And here we are. Nothing in the house really but a couch and a coffee table. We got cash laid out across the entire floor trying to count it all. Collected from all these Chaldean bookies. And the whole time I'm thinking to myself, like, don't turn your back. Because this
No, not at all.
Yeah. This dude might freaking whack me, take the money. He may be that stupid. Now, if he did do it, he'd have to run for the rest of his life. He took the boss's money. You're a dead man. That's it. So there's no question. There's no excuses. It's you die. They're going to kill you. You just disappear. That's how Detroit specializes in disappearance. Now, if you Google up like Detroit mob hits, Scott Bernstein, that author, he has a website called Gangster Report. Huge, you know, it's huge, biggest website in the world. And you could do a timeline, and they've had like 40 major mafia disappearances where they just have nothing. The guy just vanishes. So they specialize in making a guy go away. So, but I thought to myself, if this dude takes his 1.7 and runs to the right place, they won't find him. You know, if he goes to Central America or Mexico or South America, he'd go live like a king for the rest of his life with his 1.7. So all you got to do is whack me and go. And I know he's a killer. You know what I'm saying? I know it. I've seen it. So I think, but eventually they we got it done. I brought the money to Hazel Park Racetrack, which is a horse track that in Detroit was owned by the family, my uncle. And this is famous, like it's Mob Central. Feds got the place staked out 24/7. And I went there with a duffel bag full of cash. And in 1996, they brought me in for questioning. If they rounded up 100 guys, 90 guys, including me, and brought us in for questioning, and ended up charging 11 dudes, including the boss, who ended up going to prison for 2 years. And that's a whole nother story, man. The guy only got freaking 2 years for being convicted of controlling the entire Detroit Mafia, extortion, RICO, all this, 2 years in prison. Everybody knows that he had the judge in his pocket. You know, he had feds in his pocket. It's an unbelievable story in Detroit. But anyway, I brought him this money. In 1996, they brought me in for question after they rounded everybody up. And they're like, yo, you know, we know about the money. And I'm like, now they had just showed me a bunch of pictures of leaving different houses and people's houses, like, you know, different bosses' houses, walking in and out. So they showed me that picture of me with the duffel bag. And I knew all that money was in there. Then like 10 minutes later, like, yeah, we know about the money. And I'm like, you know, at this point, I'm like, you know, thinking to myself,
yeah, what the fuck you got to talk about?
Yeah, what money? What money? And they're like, we know about the money. If you don't, they wanted me to talk. You know, you're gonna go. There's a murder in charge. He said, there's a murder, multiple murders attached to this RICO. If you get convicted, you get the life. You get the death penalty. He's like, you gonna want to go to death for these people? Even they die. And the whole time, I'm just like, yo, you have freaking X amount of minutes left before you have to release me if I don't get my lawyer. You know what I'm saying? If you don't charge me 4 hours. So they just questioned me and badgered me, good cop, bad cop, the whole little game they play. And then they let me go. They did it 3 or 4 times. But the whole time, they're like, money, the money. We know about the money. I was thinking, man, it's probably, maybe it's that money. I don't know. But they never went through. So that money afterwards, I told my uncle Pete, who was basically my capo, my boss, Pete Toko. He's only 12 years older than me. So he's like an older brother. He's the guy who brought me into everything. I said, why the F did they freaking partner me up with Frankie? And freaking lunatic Frankie. And this is what they said. They said, Uncle Jack said, Frankie's the only one crazier than you. They were worried I was going to take the money. That's what he said. The whole time.
Get the hell out of here.
Yeah, they were like, yo, they put you with Frankie because they knew they were more worried about you than Frankie. They thought you were going to take the money and run. I was like, what the frick? Gotta be crazy.
And the whole time you was like, man, I can't turn my back on this mother. Please.
Yeah. No. So we ended up doing a lot of dirt together, me and Frankie, bro. But so that's about when the time they started pulling me into the life. And I was getting as my grandpa, when he got older and it was 80s, his eyes went bad. And he would drive, man, right through a freaking red light, you know? I'd be with him. And I finally was like, Grandpa, listen, I was living with him at the time. So I said, Grandpa, from now on, when you drive, just tell me I'm going to drive you wherever, man, because you're going to end up killing somebody, you know, or get yourself killed. He acted like it was nothing. Drive right through a red light. He just wouldn't even know it. His eyes, you know? So I started driving him, and he was real social. These old Sicilians are super social. They love to talk. They love to interact. They love to tell war stories. They love to be around each other at their headquarters. You know, they own fruit businesses and, you know, bakeries and, restaurants and nightclubs. So I drive around to each one of these, like, every day. Not every day, but almost every day I would drive him, like, to 2 or 3 stops. And he would go in there and they would just tell war stories in Sicilian and they would talk and sometimes business, and they would go, you know, walk out and talk business, you know, figuring places mic'd up. But what happened was I started playing, like, they're always playing penny poker. They're always playing poker. And so my Uncle Nicky taught me how to play poker too, same guy. So I'd sit down and play poker with them, you know? And so they had these they all had clubs and stuff that were like owned by front men that belonged to them. So they knew I was always in there tearing up the club, always in there. One time, there was one downtown Detroit. I tore one up. Freaking some guy was like smacking around his girlfriend. So I said, yo, bro. And I went over there. He got tough. We ended up trashing the place. I mean, it cost like $10,000 worth of damage. So my grandpa had to go pay it off, you know. But so all these old mob bosses that are now sitting down to play penny poker with, they're like, yo, I heard you tore up Joe's club the other night. Or you freaking knocked some dude out. Or you did that. What happened? And I tell them, I get all animated. Man, it's cool, man. You got this. And they liked it. They thought it was funny, you know, because they were like, that was me, you know, 50 years ago, 60 years ago. And they'd tell me their stories. Like, I remember when this time, you know, Tony C was blah, 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 did this. And I had to smack him out. I ended up knocking him out. Blah. So these old men are telling me stories. And I'm telling them my war stories. And they're like, they're digging me, you know. So now they're starting to go, you know, they can relate to me and I can relate to them. So I'm not supposed to be around guys like this. A guy who's 19, 20, 22, 25 years old, not supposed to be in a room, you know, telling war stories with the underboss of the family or the street boss of the family or whatever. It just so happened my grandpa would go there to meet him and I would drive. So I just get stuck by, you know, by proximity. I was hanging out with him. And so that's where it gets interesting because I was around these dudes and they schooled me to a lot of game, like, you know, different hustles and different rackets and different, you know, so I basically is like, and plus this is where it gets interesting too. I started doing things I wasn't supposed to do and pissing off people that I shouldn't. And because I felt like I had an impunity because here I am hanging out with these bosses. I'm a Toko by blood. I'm born Toko. I'm not a paid dude, nothing like that. So now I start like scabbing guys, poker players. I'm extorting freaking store owners that are already being extorted by other guys. You know, I'm freaking extorting bookies. You know, telling them you got to pay me if you want to run this book out of here no more. Now you got to pay me. And they're all like, yo, who the frick are you, man? I'm like, yo, you're gonna pay me or else. You know, and sometimes I, grab them up, smack them up, knock them out. I'm like, come in with a bat, whatever. And like just one bar in Detroit, right across from Harpo's famous place. You know, this little bar. And I told the dude, listen, you got to pay me $500 a week to run this place. And he like laughed at me, whatever. And I'm like, you think that's funny? He's like, dude, I already paid Pete, man. I already paid Pete. Just take care of, man. You're out of line. You're out of pocket, man. You better get out of here. There's a bunch of bikers in there. So okay, walked right out of my car, grabbed an aluminum baseball bat, walked in there swinging. Just freaking bing, 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 just cracking full. One guy started to reach for a gun. I pulled out my pistol and said, bro, that's the wrong move. You know what I'm saying? Stop. I said, now you got to pay more. And I think I negotiated it, but whatever. I mean, I didn't usually have to go through that, but a few times I did. And then guys would get pissed off. They wouldn't, like, yo, Gunner's out of control, man. And nobody told him to do that. He's just doing it on his own. Scabbing poker players where I got a lot of play because I was working security at these games for the big boss. And these players come in $10,000 to buy into the game. One winner, they cut every pot, 10% of every pot. One winner, play till you win. One winner. They have chicks there and food and sometimes they'd even have Coke, for these guys. And they just let them play all night till there was one winner. And the dealer cuts 10% out of every pot. And at the end of the night, they cut $10,000 out of the pot. And they give me like $200, $200 freaking bucks to work all night. Security, had to keep these guys in line. Usually it was easy, but still all night long for $200 is a lot of money. So I would note these dudes. I get to know them. I know their names, know what they look like. And I was bouncing at the popular nightclubs, these big baller nightclubs. They come in and I'd be like, yo, man, what if I hook up a game where you can, I'll cut every third pot. Not to cut every pot, but every third pot. You get a bigger pot. And I said, I would just sit it down, man. We can start whenever. So let me get a few players. So next thing I know, I get these players. Most of them are scabbed from other games, and I'd have them play, and then I cut, 4, 5, 10,000 out of them. Usually buy 4 or 5 after I paid. You always got to have like a stripper walking around looking hot, and a waitress, like a waitress. Cigars, drink, food, everything you need to have a good game. And then I might keep 4 or 5 grand. And but eventually, the boss was calling these players like, he wouldn't call them himself. His underlings would call them and be like, yo, why haven't you been playing our Saturday game or our Wednesday game or whatever? And they're like, yo, I've been playing your nephew's freaking game. He's only cutting every third pot. So I'm getting bigger payout. And then all of a sudden I get called in like, yo, Tony wants to talk to you. Come in. And I'm like, I didn't know what it was at first. Wow, cool. Tony's always got something going for me, He's like, what the F is wrong with you, Gunner? You're out of your freaking mind. Those are my players. You can't just scab my players. To realize how this works. I said, Tony, I got to eat too. I mean, you can have a game, I can have a game. He's like, no, you can't. So the first time he told me don't do it. The second time he called me in, he says, how much you cut out of that pot? I'm like, 5. He's like, pay it right now. I need that 5. He said, don't let it happen again. Third time, I didn't get called in by him. I got called in by grandpa. And he was like, yo, you got to stop. He just said, listen, Gunner, this is not how it works. You can't do this. No more, not again, not once. He's like, I can't protect you from, what might happen. I was like, all right. So I stopped. But, so they had a love-hate relationship with me where they were like, I love him because he gets things done. He was crazy. And, he's a hustler and he's a grinder and he's a tough guy. But he was also not respectful of the hierarchy, And to be honest with you, I was just stupid. The truth was, to me, they were just like frumpy old uncles. I didn't see them as my bosses. I didn't even think of them like that because I grew up in this environment where they were just basically my uncles and I hung out with them or whatever. So what they can do? They can do nothing. But in hindsight, when I look back, I'm just like, my God, I should have been killed for stuff like that. And I could have been. Tony Giacalone told my grandpa one time, he said it in Sicilian because I speak a little bit. He says, this one here, Pazzo La Pata, he's like, if he wasn't one of yours, Pete, he wasn't one of yours, because the way I act. But on the other hand, Tony might call me the next day. So, go grab this money up, find this dude. He called me the Bloodhound. Started calling me the Bloodhound. Because somebody was trying to hide, I'd find him. And I had some crazy ways to find him, but I always find him. So anyway, and so moral of the story is I ended up farther and farther into this life. But go ahead if you have a question. I want to interrupt. Go ahead.
Nah. So as you going along through all this, right, and you know, handling these situations and doing this, when it finally did click in that you know this is real mafia shit. Like you're really like you're handling situations for guys that are somebody, not just a body, but these
Yeah.
guys are somebody. Did it ever
Yeah.
feel like it was? Would it ever feel like it was a pressure on it? Like you had to like it was a pressure that you had to be like who your grandfather is. Did you ever feel like that you had to be at the high, like you were supposed to be up there?
Honestly, no, man. I'm gonna be perfectly honest. I could lie and bullshit, tell you, yeah, no. The truth was, honest truth, never cared about mafia stuff. Never even. I grew up around it. The word mafia was forbidden from our house. I said it once in my house. They got in trouble. And the family was in the paper sometimes, and people would say, I hear your family's mafia. And I'm like, nah, man, it's bull crap. And even my uncles, when I was young, they're like, oh, it's bull crap. And I just ignored it. I just paid attention to what was going on. And saw eventually when I got in my teens, never cared about being part of the mafia. I just wanted to eat. You know what I'm saying? So I just hustled to eat because I was a bad kid, got kicked out of school, wasn't going to go to college. And I wasn't, one of them. So my whole thing was just put food in my mouth. And never once did I think, oh man, I want to be part of this thing called our thing. I'm not gonna. I want to be, respected as a mob dude, or I want to be respected as a wise guy. I never thought that, dude. That's the craziest part. Not once did I think that. I should have. I could have taken advantage of it. Like I could have capitalized on that. But I didn't. I just carried myself like I was a rogue lunatic. And so everybody was scared of me. I go to the nightclubs, the strip clubs, the restaurant, everywhere, and I get VIP'd, I get free everything, whatever. And it was only because, 2 months before that, I was, in there and some clown got loud and I freaking dropped his ass. And 2 months before that, some other time, and some big muscle bound steroided out dude got tough and I ended up smashing his face in or whatever. So these managers and owners are always like, this freaking one is, we don't want a problem with them. And they knew that I was a Toko, so they're just like, kind of cater to them. I mean, I was terrible. I'd rack up big ass bills at freaking restaurants and clubs and stuff like tab and not pay. Not that I cared. I wasn't saying like, oh, because I'm in the mob or tied. I just like F you, get it how you live it. I am. So but the truth was that's a douchebag thing to do. It's a douchebag way. Only like once or twice did I throw the mob thing in where I threatened like one dude I stole a bunch of weed from a dude like 10, 11 pounds. And then he had the guy, his weed, call me and get tough. And he didn't know who I was. And I knew who he was. And he was connected to some guys, mob dudes. His name was Mike Brancato. And he just didn't know who I was. So I was like, yo, man, first of all, weed is mine now. I said, if you have a problem with that, take it up with Pete Toko. He's like, why would I take it up with Pete Toko? I'm like, he's my uncle. That's who I answer to. And he got quiet. And he said, okay, man, I'll take it up with Pete. He never brought it up to Pete. So
Never brought it up.
Never brought it up to Pete. He knew what that was, how that go. So, I mean, and I never never threw my weight around like mob tip. I'm a mobster, gangster, nothing like that. I just hustled, bro. All I did was hustle. I just tried to put food in my mouth. Any kind of scam, hustle, racket, I could make money on, so I didn't have to work. Oh, loser, man! Why wouldn't you work? I was lazy. Every time I tried to get a job, I just couldn't do it, man. I hated manual labor. I'm like, bro, I could sell some fake steroids and make freaking $1,000 in like a day. I could sell weed and make $1,000 a week. I could freaking rob a dope dealer or a pimp and make $5,000 in freaking 5 minutes. I mean, just a million different ways to make money without working. So that's what I did, like a freaking loser, And I had all this potential too, as a creator, I knew I had this creative gift, and
But it's showing now, bro. It's showing now. All right, so let's fast forward. Let's fast forward to the situation at hand of you catching the charges, what the FBI labeled you as, and you starting your prison bid.
Okay, well, so like towards the end, I'm gonna roll this window down. Let me know if you can see me as good, man. It's hot as hell. I'm in southern Missouri, man. If the lighting messes up, let me know. Is this okay?
No, you good, bro.
I just need to cross it. So towards the end, I started using drugs. I started gambling, which I was taught never to do, gamble. And all my life I've been running be in the house. And I went to Vegas, sat down one time, and started playing blackjack. And before you know it, I'm just like, I won a bunch of money, man. Not a ton, but like 17 grand. I'm like, this is easy. And it hooked me in. So the next thing I know, I'm going to Vegas all the time, gambling. And then started getting high pain pills and stuff because I ended up breaking my ankle. And the pain pills led to, you know where that goes. So I started like doing things that weren't green lit, doing, crimes and stuff that my uncle, my boss, wasn't saying was cool. I wasn't even giving him money. I'm supposed to kick him a percentage of everything I did, and I wasn't. He knew it. He knew it because I just bought a big freaking house, and I got 2 new cars, and I got a 4-wheeler and a dirt bike and a jet ski and a crotch rocket and all this stuff, and I'm living like a baller, but I'm handing him freaking $200 a week. So he started saying, "Listen, man, I know you're not kicking up. I can't protect you then. And then if you want to be on your own, you're going to be on your own." And that's when I was like, I'll be on my own. And it really, I got the underboss. I went to collect or bring some money to the underboss one time. His name is Tony Zarelli, and he said, "This is a good story. You got to get buzzed into this guy's office to get in. He's got this office in the back of this restaurant, and I go in there. He's got a bodyguard standing there, and I looked at him kind of jokingly, and I said, this the only guy stopped me from coming in here to get you, Tony?" Kind of joking, but they knew I was nuts. And the funny thing he does when because they clicked me into the room, the door shut, and he goes under the door and clicks it. He goes click, and he didn't say now you can't leave like in the movie Goodfellas, but it was his side. Like he went click. Well, you can't leave now. So, but anyways, he said, "Listen, Alonzo, it's like you can't beat everybody, meaning beat their ass, because I was always fighting." He said, "One of these days, somebody's gonna come with a gun. You can't beat that." He was trying to say, calm down, stop freaking pissing people off. And I said, and I took that very offensive. There's a couple other guys in the room, including Tony Giacalone. And I said, what's that supposed to mean, man? I said, I can't eat too. I can't eat. I said, no, he said it in Sicilian, and I can't translate it the right way, but it basically said there's rules to follow. And he's like, you're not following. He's like, so you can't be protected. I said, well, listen, Tony, here's the deal. If somebody comes to me with a gun, for me with a gun, I'm like, there better be a good shot, because if they're not, I got a gun too. And I said, and I'm a good shot. I said, then I'm gonna come for the guy who sent them. And everybody in the room got quiet. And they're like, and then they all laughed and joked. They thought it was crazy. But I wasn't trying to threaten the underboss, but I just said, hey man, listen, I got guns too. You got guns? I got guns. They got guns, I got whatever. So anyway, I was rogue and started doing a bunch of crap at the end and just went nuts. And I just didn't care because I had this lifestyle to maintain. I had this house and toys and all this stuff. I'm like, I need money. So I started robbing banks and robbing like dope dealers and robbing stuff, like big dope dealers. And I was cherry picking them out of strip clubs, because I had the girls working in the strip clubs, and they'd come in and the dope dealers would come in, and then the girls would call me and like, yo, I got one to go. Says you got a white Escalade out front, blah, blah, blah. You got freaking big jewelry on, not a cash, yada, yada. I called my cousin Frankie, and we'd follow them. And then, wherever they go, we get them. I don't care if they walk into a restaurant to eat. Most of the time they go after to eat. And then we just freaking walk in masked up with shotguns and freaking, nobody move. And then put them on the floor, zip time, take their money and their jewelry. So eventually I got caught up, got arrested, got robbed the bank, got in a high-speed chase, ended up freaking getting my ass stomped by the cops, and got charged with 17 capital crimes, everything from extortion to bank robbery to armed robbery to kidnapping, carjacking. It wasn't like I kidnapped somebody. I took somebody at gunpoint and walked them over to get their car keys for me and said, I need your car. They call it kidnapping. They ended up dropping that. But so I ended up getting cooked. And when at the end of the day, I couldn't beat, any of the charges. So it wasn't like I could fight them in trial. Lots of times guys can fight them in trial. There was nothing happening. My family basically left me for dead. In previous cases that I got charged, my family got the lawyers and had judges, and they got me out of it, bro. I mean, I got out of some crap, bro. There was one where they raided my house that was in my girlfriend's name. They knew it was my dope. They found a kilo of heroin, and but no fingerprints on it. So, but anyway, they knew it was mine, and they could have tried. But what happened was the judge that was the controlling judge or whatever, my lawyer, who was a big shot lawyer, who's actually been disbarred for corruption, for trying to bribe a judge. He actually switched the venue over to one of our judges, meaning he got my case switched to Judge Coretti, which was one of our cases, and he got thrown out. I ended up getting 6 months probation for the kilo of heroin. Not for that. They dropped that, and then had some analog, some steroids, and they charged me that a 6 month freaking case. Cost me a bunch of money, lawyers, but previously the family would say, help me out and whatever. Where this time they were just like, yo, you want to be on your own, you're on your own. So I ended up getting cooked and going away for 13 years. Good times.
So, yo, all right. So now all that happened. They charge you in prison, right? You know, you being you. How did you act when you was in prison? How was you in prison? Did you jump all into I kick your ass, I beat your ass, or was you just like, you know what, I'm doing this time, I'm just trying to cruise through?
Dude, I was the most cruisingest dude you ever. Here's the thing, man. I when I was a kid or teens and 20s in the streets and I was knocking fools out, that's just because this dude, you see a guy with his chest puffed out in the club, acting like he's big shot. You know, he did a bunch of steroids to get big. He's a pussy. You know that. So I was the guy that's just like, yo, I'm going to test this dude to see if he's, if he's tough as he thinks he is. 9 out of 10 guys would back down either because they freaking knew who I was or they were just pussies or whatever. But every once in a while, some guy, like, I might bump him or whatever. I'm like, what's up, bro? You don't say excuse me or whatever. And he might be like, F you, F me. How about I smash your head in? I give him a chance. If they backed away, whatever, then they were, they back away. But if you said, smash my head, like, what's up? As soon as they put him up, boom, I knock him out. So I wasn't a guy just normally just beating people up for no reason. So I get to prison. I didn't play the tough guy role. I worked out. I minded my business and told myself, I'm not gonna get in any problems. Unless somebody backs me into a corner, man, I'm not gonna fight. You know what I'm saying? I'm trying to get home and get home alive. That's the most important part to me, is to get home alive. So I only had one fight in prison, and that was actually in the county jail when I was in the hole. I think I was telling you about it earlier. I ended up doing 17 months in the hole when I was fighting my case. And this little black kid, man, light-skinned cat, about like yourself, he thought he was tough. He was barking all the time, like he acting like he was big shot, rock boss, Big Willie. And I could tell he wasn't cut like that. He was punking out all these little white boys and freaking. And I'm watching him, man. It didn't bother me. It was whatever. It's your bit. But he's kind of stocky, but maybe weighed 150, 170, muscle bound. But I could tell he was all bark. But he wasn't even cut like that. He wasn't even from the city, man. He was from the burbs. And so one day I went to church and I came back from church and 2 pies was missing out of my box. So I flip out, bro. I go in there out in the day room there in this county jail, and they got one little black and white TV, and they're all crowded around looking at it. I walked over there, grabbed the TV, smashed it on the ground, and just started barking. Which one of you bitches went in my box? Which one of you bitches had the nerve to go? I took my box, my commissary, threw it on the table. I said, now come get it like a man. Let me see if you can do it. When you bitch, and nobody moved, nobody said nothing there. I just smashed the unit TV, the only one they got. Ain't easy. I'm like, I'm ready to kill somebody. And so nothing happens. The cops see him. They're like, the unit locked down. They see me for, they knew something was up. They came and asked me, what's going on? I said, somebody stole from me. And they're like, well, you got to calm down, whatever. And 2 hours later, they let us all back out. I get out and I see this little black kid standing there with a freaking razor in his hand. And he's shaking his hand like this. It's at his side though, but he's like this. So I walked right up to him. I said, hey man, what's up? Why you shaking, bro? Why you so nervous? He said, wasn't me, man. It wasn't me, Al. It was my bunkie. I said, your bunkie? So I went straight up in this bunkie cell. I walked in there and basically I opened the door. Of course, everybody's everybody in the unit is like, oh, here it goes. I walked straight up. I said, hey man, you steal from me, bro? He's like, nah, bro. I said, well, I'm gonna check your box and see anyways. He's like, oh, now you disrespecting me. I said, disrespecting you? I just blew him out, bro. Bam, just hit him right here, caved him in, knocked him out, and spread him, dude. I dragged him out, and there's like the staircase to go up to the second tier. I dragged him out and pulled him under the staircase in a big blood trail because it smashed his eye ain't real good. And I said, anybody else want to try to steal from me? Anybody else? I said, like a man, a punk old man. I'm at my church. This punk gonna creep in my cell like a little bitch. So they see the dude laid out, and they lock us down, and they freaking, in county jail, they put a little kite under the door if anyone saw anything, whatever. And half the unit said that I freaking scratched, oh boy. So I mean, they freaking cuffed me up, take me to the hole, and I ended up in the hole for 17 months, and that's a good story because when I was in the hole for 17 months, it wasn't that I was in the hole for that. By the way, they took him to the hospital, had to fix his eye, but I got restitution for the ambulance.
TV.
Yeah,
the ambulance.
They didn't even charge me with the freaking surgery to put his eye orbital socket back together, which I'm grateful. But they did charge me with the ambulance ride, which was like $700. But I ended up having to pay that. But anyway, when I was in the hole, I got into it with the cops, and they ended up jumping me and beat my ass. As I told you, I had my ass whooped twice in my life. Once by 5 cops. Actually, I've had my ass whooped twice by 5 cops, because I forgot about this one. Yeah.
You made you remember. You remember the ass whooping, like goddamn.
Yeah.
No,
I came back from court and I got into it with these freaking the COs. They had me blocked. I was what they call level 9, so they put me in this I was a high profile inmate, so they put me in my own cell. Come back from court, and I was banging on the glass because I was making beats. Boom, 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 boom. It was real freaking acoustic. Well, this Macomb County Jail. It's got about 20 holding cells of people coming in, and each one's got like 20 people. So there's like 400 guys in the packed in these cells, and then just me. And I got this striped freaking like whole jumpsuit on from the hole. And I'm in there banging on this glass thing. It's loud as hell. Boom, 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 boom. And so everybody's laughing. So the sergeant or lieutenant or whatever with the gold badges and stuff, he comes out. He's like, knock it off. I'm like, he's right on the other side of the glass. And I'm just like, boom, boom, boom. Like, he goes, you know who I am? And I'm like, bro, no, I don't care who you are. You know who I am? Not that I was anybody, but I'm like, I don't care. I'm facing life in prison 20 times over. You think I give a crap about you, dude? So they ended up freaking coming in there. They told me to come out and cuff up. I wouldn't because I know they're famous for just beating your ass. So I said, I'll calm down. I'll walk back to my cell. I ain't going to cause no problem, but I'm not cuffing up because I know how that goes. So you're just going to jump on me. I'm going to get in it. I'm going to protect my life. They back up. No. So they tried to taser me. And because there's a big dude and then a small dude behind, and he stepped out, and they're like, let him have it. And I was like, oh, bam, but I had jumped sideways, and at the last second, one prong hit me, another one missed, and they just hit me here, and I was already swinging my arm, and I swung and knocked it down, bam, I got off it, and they're like, bam, he just took the taser, and they're like, shut the door. So they shut it, I calmed down, about an hour goes by, they come back, they end up macing me. So they end up freaking or pepper spraying me, whatever. And then when they took me to the hole, they walked me down the, because there's cameras and they can't just stomp your ass on the cameras because they get trouble. So what they do is they wait till you're on the elevator where there's no camera. So as soon as I stepped into the elevator, the whole way they're wrenching my arm and they're going, stop resisting. I'm like, bro, you're ripping my shoulder out of the socket, bro. Calm down, man. I'm not resisting. I never did resist. Like as soon as I step in the cell, this punk ass cop freaking just grabs my head. Stop resisting! And they all just stomped me. They freaking, this big giant dude, man, it was like, they called him the Big Show. He was like 6'8", maybe 350 pounds. Drops a knee on my head. Bam! And I fell to the floor. Oh, yeah. I thought it was going to kill me, bro. Imagine 350 pounds of weight on your head right there.
Yo, what you was thinking when they was whooping your ass? What was going through your head?
Oh, this is what I was saying. This is exactly what I was saying. So when they were kicking and stomping me, I'm going, real tough guys, 5 of you and 1 me. Undo the cuffs so we can, make it even. I'm not me against you 5 bitches. I said, give me a chance, bitch. Bam, shut up, stop resisting, bam, stop resisting. I'm like, real tough. This is what I literally said this. I said, you gonna go home tonight and tell your wives and tell your girlfriends how tough you are, how you had to beat up an inmate, you got out of line, huh? You gonna tell her I was in cuffs? You gonna tell her how bitch you gonna tell them I was in cuffs? And they just kept stomping me. That's when the big dude dropped the knee on me. But I almost think he was trying to protect me, man. Because when he dropped the knee on my head and smashed my head against it, they all stopped because he was like, yo, and he's just like, calm down. I said, I've been calm, man. What are you freaking crazy? I'm in cuffs. But he didn't realize that it was that corrugated metal floor with a diamond corrugated metal floor, and my head was smashed against it with 300 pounds, and it split me open. It cut my head. I had to get stitches and everything. So they took me to the hole. I ended up getting stitches a couple hours later. They took me, but they ended up kicking. As soon as they, I had to back up to the door and uncuff. I said, yeah, now come in, bitches now. When hands free, let's get it. me against you 5. A bunch of people out screaming, "My punk ass bitches, you 5 on me, huh? Want to jump me with cuffs on you, bitches?" But they wouldn't. They didn't. They just walked away and whatever. So that's what happened. They ended up putting me in a level 9, calling it level 9. I don't even know what that means, but it basically means I don't ever get out of the hole. So as long as I'm in their jail, I'm in the hole. So I ended up in there for 17 months, which is a long time to be in the hole. So I ended up, what I did was started reading a lot. I was a reader before I went to prison. I used to read about 2 books a week, which is weird. You gotta think that, there's a kind of gangster kind of dude, but I love to read, man. I love to freaking just read. And the old bosses would see me with a book. They're like, Gunnar, Alonzo, why you got a book? You always got a book on you. At dinner, it doesn't matter. I got a book. I'm like, well, yeah, I like to read. What can I tell you? So when I was in the hole, I'd read. Then I started saying, man, a lot of these books aren't that good. I mean, they're okay, but they could be better. I could do better. So I started sitting there laying on my bunk and coming up with like books, bro, novels, very complex characters and plots and subplots. Oh, I think I was getting a call. Yeah, I got a call. Never mind, it's still there. You there?
Sorry. Yep, you back.
So my phone showed up. I was getting a call, but so I started coming up with these stories, and they got deeper. And before you know it, I was writing. I didn't have the material to write, but I came up with the full stories, the plot, conflict, resolution, very complex stories. When you read the reviews on my books, they're
it was a number 1, right?
Yeah, it's freaking. I have perfect 5-star reviews across the board. Both volumes of my novels, like my 2 novels, have more reviews and better reviews than John Grisham's last 2 books combined. So I mean,
let the people know the name of the book and where they can get it
at. To Be a King, you buy it at Amazon. It's also available on iTunes and Audible. It's a story about a fictional Detroit Mafia family, and people are calling it the next Godfather. People are saying this guy Gunnar is the next Mario Puzo, who wrote the Godfather. They're saying, I've had a lot of people say it's the greatest Mafia story ever told. I mean, people are saying that. I mean, I'm not saying. I'm just reading what people say on the reviews, but most of the reviews are like, this guy killed it. This is so many people are saying this is the Godfather of our generation. This guy wrote so hopefully we get the movie made soon, and then. But anyway, that's what I did in the hole.
Wait, hold on. Is the movie coming?
We're always working on a movie, bro. Yeah.
Man, hey, man, listen. I don't know if you noticed, but a brother can act, man. Yeah. A brother can act. Well, I can act, man.
You know how many people want to be in that movie, man? Listen, once you read my book, you're going to be floored. Listen, you're never in a million years. I don't know if you believe in God, but once you read my books, you'll know God is real, because a guy like me shouldn't be able to write the way I do. So you'll read it and go, it's a miracle. This guy is a GED. He's a street dude. I've had some of the best writers in the world go on record and say that. I was on the radio with Scott Bernstein, who stopped in the middle of an interview because I was with him, and he said, hold on, I got to say something about this guy here. This guy here was a real certified bona fide street guy, went to prison, mastered his craft, came out, and his books are better than 99% of the writers that I know call themselves writers. And this guy's wrote an opus, and one of the greatest writers in the world. I had a Fortune 500 CEO named Matt Simoncini, Fortune 200, number 198, read my books on his private jet, both of them in 3 days. Now, they're 500 pages each. So they're big books. They're 500 pages. He read both of them in 3 days, called me up and said, listen, bro, I want to meet you for lunch. Come to lunch, meet him for lunch. I'm like, hell yeah, this guy, Google him. I make $14 million a year. I'm like, and I go to meet him, and he says, listen, man, sit down and congratulates me, whatever. He said, bro, this is what he says. I'll never forget it. He says, Gunnar, you're the greatest writer in the world nobody knows about. And I said, thanks, man. And the book's only been out 9 months. I'm working on that, but thank you. And after lunch, he let me drive his Ferrari around the east side of Detroit on Facebook Live. He Facebook Lived it in the passenger seat while I'm ripping through the gears in his freaking $300,000 Maranello Ferrari.
Come on, man.
Yeah, it's funny.
That's dope. That is dope.
Yeah,
man. And you got the apparel going on, man.
Yeah. So anyway, I'll just finish what I was saying. There was when I was in the hole, I started writing these books in my mind. So as soon as I got to prison, I said, pen and paper, and I started writing, and I started grinding, and I started grinding, and I started grinding, and I knocked out my first novel, then I knocked out my second novel, and eventually I ended up getting a typewriter and taught myself how to type, started grinding, And over 13 years, I wrote 9 novels, and they're all pretty long books. They average about I average about 500 pages each, so they're big books. But yeah, in prison, I was very reticent and kept to myself. I didn't bother nobody. I didn't be bothered. I was a pretty big dude. I kept to myself. Rumor was I could handle myself pretty good. So predators were going to try to come, the extortionists, whatever. And usually the gang, the gang heads, they would get word quick who I was. And the word wasn't, don't mess with him because what's he going to do? He's one freaking guy. The word was he can call home and have somebody you love killed. So, and that's how I was like, especially in the end, if somebody freaking comes at me sideways, I'll just send word to the streets, man. And then somebody's going to have a bad day. They're going to get a JPay. They're going to get a freaking letter that says, yo, somebody's house burned down with somebody in it or whatever. So, I mean, they didn't bother me. They warned them all the time to stay away from me, and nobody bothered me. But, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to put my phone charger in because it says low battery.
All right, hold on, Gunner, real quick. Hey, yo, listen, man, this got me captivated so much that I'm about to break this up to a part 1, a part 2. We about to cut this right now. Then we're gonna come back with a part 2. Yo, y'all don't understand. I'm really like, man, and my man is doing his thing out here, and to come from a past like that and to go through the things he went through, man, is amazing. We about to finish this. I just want to let y'all know that this part 2 is coming right after this. I'm just gonna cut this so we can go to the next one. Hey, yo, Gunner, hit the stop.
Hit the stop.